Hey guys, Robert with the Man Factory, and in this video I want to talk to you a bit about weightlifting shoes, and specifically why you should definitely own a pair if you're serious about lifting weights regularly and serious about gaining strength. So here on my bench in my home gym, I've got my personal pair of weightlifting shoes on the right. They're Adidas brand and they've served me well for every workout for the past 6 years or so. On the left, I've got just a regular old beat-up pair of running shoes or cross trainers. And I'm going to share with you the 3 main advantages, as I see them, of weightlifting shoes in your workouts. So the first advantage is stability. If you look at the undersole of my weightlifting shoes, you can see that the sole is made of very hard, dense rubber material. If I push on that with my thumb, I can't compress it at all. It's rock hard. If I knock on it here, you can hear the sound it makes. There's not any softness there, not any compressibility at all. And that's exactly how a weightlifting shoe should be. A hard sole like this that's also flat allows you to be in full, firm contact with the ground, and the lack of compressibility here in this material means that all the force I generate, or at least as much of it as possible, in my body as I try to lift the weight, will be transferred directly into the floor. There won't be any cushioning, any loss of force due to a soft, squishy sole that would kind of act like a cushion, dampening the force I'm trying to produce as I move a heavy barbell. Contrast that with the sole of this running shoe here, and in addition to not being flat at all and having all sorts of mountainous ridges and bumps here, as running shoes often do, the material is also very squishy. You can see when I push on this, I'm easily able to compress it. It feels squishy under my fingers. And what that's going to do is cushion a lot of the force that I'm producing as I try to perform heavy squats or deadlift or overhead press. And that force is going to be muted and dampened, and basically shoes like this will just make me effectively weaker. And that's not at all what I want. Shoes should help you lift as much weight as possible, and a proper pair of weightlifting shoes with solid, incompressible soles that are also flat in full, firm contact with the ground will allow me to transfer as much of the force that I'm producing as possible right into the floor where it should be. Looking again at these running shoes, you can see that they're not flat like my weightlifting shoes are. There's a curve that comes up on the heel of these, and as I mentioned, because of the ridges and bumps here, they're not at all in full contact with the floor as I try to perform a lifting movement. That's fine for running, which is what these shoes were made for. In fact, you want squishy cushioning in the soles of your shoes when you're running. The repeated jarring movements of pushing off the ground and hitting it again as you stride during running, it can be hard on your joints and the rest of your body, and that's where the advantage of cushiony shoes like this comes in. But for weightlifting, you don't want that. You want the exact opposite. The next advantage that weightlifting shoes have over running shoes has to do with shape. I know I've already mentioned something about the flatness of these shoes and how that's an advantage, but if you look at the underside of the weightlifting shoe again, you'll see that the sole is actually wedge-shaped. It starts off thin near the toe, and it gradually gets wider towards the heel, until finally at the back of the heel, it's about 3/4 of an inch thick. Whereas on the running shoe, the sole is more or less a constant thickness throughout. So you might wonder why a wedge-shaped sole that gets thicker at the heel like this is an advantage for lifting weights. And the answer has to do with balance. When you've got a heavy barbell on your back, when you're performing squats, or especially any of the Olympic lifts, being tilted forward slightly, as this shape of sole will do, is a definite mechanical advantage. It's easier to keep your balance, and it's just a more natural position to generate force from. So it seems like a small thing, but the shape of proper weightlifting shoes, especially the shape of their sole, is an advantage that you don't want to ignore in your training. The final main reason why weightlifting shoes are an advantage has to do with stability. You'll notice here, in addition to regular laces, these weightlifting shoes of mine have a buckle near the top, near the tongue of the shoe, a strap. Now that's an important feature, and every good pair of weightlifting shoes has this, in my opinion. What you do with that strap is, of course, you tighten it over your foot after you've already tied the shoes, and it lets you torque up the tension on those shoes around your feet so that there's absolutely no room at all for your feet to shift and slide and move around as you're trying to move heavy weights. Movement of feet within shoes is definitely not something you want to happen when you're lifting heavy weights. You want your feet to be perfectly still and steady and strapped in fully in your shoes as you're trying to perform basic barbell movements. And a good strap like this, in addition to laces, allows you to do that. No running shoe that I've ever seen has straps, and that means that your feet are far more likely to shift around inside the shoe as you're lifting. Not at all what you want. So those are the three main advantages that weightlifting shoes have over regular running shoes or cross trainers. Stability, a hard incompressible sole, shape, the flatness of that sole and the gradually thickening, widening nature of the sole towards the back, and support. Straps that can add tension over your feet and keep your feet from sliding around. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you're just now getting into weightlifting but think you'd like to make it a regular part of your life, I definitely recommend getting a good pair of weightlifting shoes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.